Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. So normally we speak Spanish. Okay, so
we can do that.
First thing that we are all speaking English. Okay, our native language is Spanish. So if I would start, le diría, hola, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo están todos?
Very good.
Okay, good. So that's the first thing. I have good English because I studied in California, very small. Okay, just to put it that way. So it's not so difficult for me. Look, Tara is a crazy project, but we also have to start with the people, you know. Tara is a project that started with Gonzalo Vial, the owner, who he just passed away a month ago. So it's a pity for us. A great man. He passed away 88 years old. And the most important thing about Gonzalo, he always believed in his winemakers and viticultures. So we asked him a lot of crazy things. And one of those was to plant vineyards in Tara in the Atacama Desert. Okay, again, as Marcelo did an amazing job, so he explained almost everything I need to explain because we are very similar, but more to the north. Camanchaca, calcare soils. But the difference is that we are in the beginning of the Atacama Desert. Anyway, at the north of Santiago, really, Chile starts to be a lot of desert anyway. So you start to go from the north of Santiago, but this is 500 miles away from Santiago. Very coastal. We're talking about 10 miles and 20 miles to the coast. And it's a very narrow, but very salty, because the difference between Limarí and Huasco is that I think that in general, the calcare soils in Limarí are a little bit more elegant in terms of, and less salty, even though it's salty, but we have a big complication with salt. So we shouldn't have planted vineyards. So why do we arrive there? Because there's olive trees. And wherever you see olive trees, you think, okay, we can plant a vine. And then normally it works. But the olive trees has much less sensitivity with the salt. So when we planted in 2007, 6 months after, all the vines died. So we didn't know how to irrigate. My father is an expert in irrigation, and he worked even north of that with a table grape. And he told me, get an irrigation consultant. I'm not going to consult you because I'm old now, so he didn't, but get a guy who will explain you how to irrigate. So we planted again, and we started to produce. So if you see Tara, it's, again, calcare, second and third terrace, but the place is so unique, and the best place, one of the best places of the world to see the stars. So it's a very magical place.
I can tell you by heart, I've been there, and it's another movie.
Yeah, you see the Martians and all those things like that. So it's a very special place. You want to be alone. It's one of the parts that you really feel alone. And there's no people, really no people living there. So we were the first people to plant there. We're happy now that we have 3 or 4 neighbors now that just planted on the last 5 years. So if you see, it's a cloudy wine. Tara has always been an experimental project. Why experimental? Because it has made us as winemakers that we work very traditionally, to be able to understand a soil that we didn't understand, to map it, all the things that we do, you know, a little bit boring sometimes, but we map the soils, we do different types of fermentation. So all this came as an experimental. The first wines that we made in 2009, we did it in a bucket. So we did, I don't know, a few gallons. So how do you ferment that in the laboratory, you know, the typical glass jar in the laboratory? And how do you filter that? You can't filter that. So the first time we did 2 gallons, and we bottled, and we had like 20 bottles, of course, unfiltered. Second year, we had a bin. That would be maybe half a ton. Okay, how do you ferment that? We didn't have a press, with our feet. So in a certain way, we started to learn that to do Tara, it was using the old techniques but it really is like making wine in the garage of your house. And so we started to do that. We started to do an experimental winery. And that has how Tara came. So the year that Tara was going to be launched, it didn't even have a flavor of Chardonnay. Today it's more Chardonnay driven, but it didn't even have flavor of Chardonnay. So that's why in the label we just put Tara, and the name is White Number 1. And Susana, I love when you put Blanco and your label, because it's amazing.
That's the beauty of it.
And in a certain way, it happened to us the same. We were the new guys putting that grape there. That is a fascinating grape. Of course, we put it thinking about what Limarí was doing before, amazing Chardonnays. And we said, okay, but we are not the same. So that's why we started, let's see if we have yeast. So we did only native yeast. We don't have any thought about it. So don't put sulfur, because if we have yeast, we're going to kill them. So it's very experimental. And the first years were so experimental. And today, where we are today with 2021 is that we age 2 years with all the lees. We harvest in the morning, very cold. We maintain it always with at least 2 years. We never move the wine. We never rack it. And 50% is in a concrete egg that we make it with the stones of our vineyards. So that's very funny because about 800 miles that we go to a guy who makes the concrete tanks. So always the CEO says, I'm going to pay this amount of money for your taking rocks? Yes. Okay, and that's what we do. Okay, so at the end, you want to really feel the essence of your place. So we do 50% in concrete eggs and 50% in neutral oak vats. So that means there's no toast inside. So we just want to reflect that. And of course, it's very easy winemaking. So you don't need a winemaker to do this.
Okay.
You only need a winemaker to taste the grape to say it's okay. But it's very simple winemaking. You know, you just ferment.
You shouldn't say that because you have to keep your job, huh? Just in case.
Look, I've been in the same
record, huh? That guy is record.
Look, I started working with Marcelo. We worked together in Conchitoro. Marcelo, you're like 30 years in Conchitoro. I'm 24 years in Ventisquero. So we are not away.
You can say whatever. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.